We are now ready for the request for a discussion of the request for withdrawal, RGFA site plan approval for 121 Rolling Lane. There's a bunch of correspondence on this. Maybe the way to talk about this is, I see that Joel Bard, thank you for coming tonight, Joel, is here, and maybe you could just summarize. There's been a lot of back and forth correspondence with where you think we are on this. The issue is the planning board submitting a memorandum to the town clerk with respect to the withdrawal of this application. That's the issue. And I suppose that the subject under discussion is whether the planning board can do such a thing, and if it can, what it can or cannot include in that. Is that correct?
Sure, that's certainly a fair way of looking at it. I mean, the issue's been framed, if you will, by the original project proponent, who's now withdrawn the application, and by an abutter, essentially. And the board is somewhere in the middle. And of course, both sides have urged at various times different positions, but principally the former applicant is saying not so much that you have no right to file a statement of the nature that you're contemplating to file, but questioning why would you file such a statement when the application's been withdrawn, and is this something you've done before, and is this something you intend to do in the future, and so forth. And the abutters, from their side, has in the past urged the board to make fairly extensive statements, including findings, and now have come to the point of saying, because the draft was available at the last meeting last Wednesday, and so folks have seen the draft. And if I understand what the abutters are saying, that they're comfortable with the board filing that statement with the town clerk. So that's where it stands. How you wish, and I'll get to your second question, how you wish to proceed tonight is another question. Do you want to hear from those two sides again, or do you want the board just get to the business of making a decision and specifically reviewing that one document, deciding whether you like it as it's proposed, or whether you want to file something or not? Well, so there's what do I think about and which
draft? That's what
about the draft
looking at.
Well, let me say, I reviewed an earlier draft, and this is my edited version of the earlier draft. It's really up to the board whether or not you want to file this draft with the town clerk. I mean, this was put together to reflect, in part, some of the views that the board members have expressed. I mean, an issue for you to consider is the point raised by the applicant's legal counsel as to, are you setting a precedent? Is this something you've not done before? Is this, I mean, clearly there's a particular history with this lot, but does that history warrant you're taking a position? I leave it up to the board. In my opinion, given the way it's phrased now, it's something you can do, but I do acknowledge the point made by counsel for the applicant that it appears to be precedent setting, and if it is, that's something for the board to consider if you feel that this set of facts warrants setting this kind of precedent. And just to review, I mean, what it says in a nutshell is it reviews the history of the site, the clearing that was done on the site earlier, although at the time there were no town bylaws that prevented that kind of clearing. And to the extent that bylaws existed, namely the stormwater review, that was followed and that process occurred pursuant to the town's bylaw. And there was other history related to that, all indeed generated by an abutter who brought the issue to the board, and the board was concerned about those facts at the time. An application was filed for a larger than 6,000 square foot building, but it's been withdrawn. So the board's concern has been, going back to the Beaver Road history, and that essentially there be a caveat on the record that this site has this particular history, and you want to put that on the record by way of sending this kind of notice to the town clerk. The notice as written does not include any findings such as the board finds ABC about the clearing that's occurred. It's just a factual statement as to what has occurred, and there's a second factual statement saying that people should be on notice that should an owner come back to have site plan review for an extension that will take it over 6,000 square feet, the baseline will be whatever baseline has been documented pre this moment in time, going back to the Earth movement that occurred 2 years ago.
And why is it a precedent?
Well, that's a factual question.
No, well, why would submitting this memorandum be set a precedent, do you think?
Well, again, it's just factual. Have you done this before? Have you filed something at the town clerk?
No, but not that I'm aware of, but would that, what are the implications then? That, is the suggestion then that we would have to file a memorandum every time somebody withdraws an application? Is that the suggestion, or
Well,
what is the precedent part of it?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, that may be the rhetorical point that's being made. In my opinion, no, it does not mean that. But, I mean, it's something for the board to consider. If it is the first time that you're doing it, is it something you intend to do routinely? I gather from your question that it's not, and I assume you don't intend to do it routinely. But in my opinion, it doesn't mean that you have to do it routinely. But if you were to get a...
Well, what is it? It is the withdrawal of an application
Right.
for site plan review, which, I mean, it is a practical matter. You know, how often does that yet happen? That it would become something of concern in terms of setting a precedent. I can only remember fewer than a handful of withdrawals from a site plan review application. So,
Well, the it that I'm referring to is the board's taking the action of filing a notice, if you will, with the town clerk. That's the it, when I say it,
okay,
that I'm referring to.
all right, okay. Well, that's asking us to predict what we would include in under various circumstances for various notices, which I think is pretty broad. It's a pretty broad consideration, seems to me. So that's the recapitulation. So we've got some factual statements which you put on the record as advisory for the possibility of a future application for site plan review. Okay.
Right, correct, yeah.
Now, let me ask, we have the butters here, and we have the applicant and his attorneys here. Does the board want to hear from the parties involved, or is this sufficient for you to be able to make a decision?
Sufficient. It's sufficient for me, unless there's something they have to have that we haven't seen in all these pages of correspondence and letters. But I don't know what else is left to be said. I think we've pretty much heard from everyone.
And if we open it up to discussion, I think we will be here for long.
So,
I can say, I can address this within 10 minutes, and I don't want to get into the past, I just want to make a few points.
Jonathan White, I have been representing the applicant tonight.
Can I just say that this is our decision?
Yes.
If we decide to hear from you, we will call on you.
Okay.
How's that?
That's fine. Sure.
And I'm just polling the board. What is the sense of the board? Do we want to hear from the parties involved, or is there enough information here for us to make a decision? That's the question. What do you think?
I think I've heard a lot. And I think that I don't really need to hear a ton more at this stage.
A ton?
I don't need to hear any more.
Okay.
Any more.
good.
I'd like to hear more.
You'd like to hear more? what is your?
I think it's everything comes to me, I can make a decision.
All right, so poll the board, 3 board members feel that they have enough information already to be able to make a decision. So that's where we stand. Good. In that case, no, in that case, having said that, what is does somebody want to make a motion with respect to this memorandum?
Yes, I move that we approve the memorandum dated July 15th, 2015 regarding the 121 Rolling Lane RGFA withdrawal.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm gonna abstain.
You're abstaining?
Yeah.
Okay. 4 ayes, 1 abstention.
I have a point of information, Al.
Yes.
I'm just curious, you treated it kind of like a town meeting where you voted to close any discussion.
Well, I took town council's advice. He said, as he explained it, we could decide
Oh, no.
to hear from both sides or not.
No, and it is your prerogative, and we knew that
So I didn't
coming
treat
in.
it as town meeting.
No, but you are in the sense that at least 3 voted to close off discussion. One said we haven't started yet, and said, well, you haven't voted, we're not.
4
here."
voted to close off
You
this.
didn't vote, but I
Yes,
guess I
did.
know your vote. Right. But I'm just saying, even that's an interesting precedent.
Well, all I can say is I made a trip out here to talk for 10 minutes. Would appreciated that chance to talk. I think I have some relevant things to say that were covered in the correspondence, but if you don't give me an opportunity to ask, and you didn't give me an opportunity to ask for that 10 minutes, and the minute I did, stepped in to ask for it.
Discuss
shut
it with
me up.
town council. I took his advice. He advised me that it was up to the board to decide whether to hear from the parties or not. I polled the board. The board's decision was not to hear from the parties. If that's an issue, I would suggest you take it up with town council.
Well, it is your decision. I don't disagree with them. It's just an issue of courtesy and whether someone feels something meaningful to say.
I'm sorry if we were discourteous.
Mr. Chairman, I will just add in your defense, and council's probably seen it, perhaps not, but there has been a flood of correspondence, including 2 today from the developers, 1 each from 1 council, and obviously many from the abutters and many from developers council as well over the past 2-3 weeks. So in fairness to the board, they've had a lot of literature
And we've read it.
articulating both sides.
Has the entire board read all of the submissions?
Yes, can I ask who you are?
Yeah, my name's Garrett Horseman. I'm the author of a couple of the letters.
Okay, so we read your letter today.
All right,
Go on.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joel.
Night, night.
Yes, good night,
Thanks,
everyone.
Joel.
Thank you, Joel.
Thank you for releasing me before midnight.
You want to stay? You want to stay if you want to.
Yeah,
And we have 2.5 hours.
yeah, we get 2.5 hours.
Something's cooler in here than last week. It's a lot more comfortable.
We were
That's because there's
downstairs
a lot
last
fewer
night.
people.
We were down there last night.
It's much better above ground.
Yes.
Nice.
Night. Good night. Excuse me, what are you here to discuss?
We're here on 253 Meadowbrook.
The lights.
All right, we're going to get to you just after we talk